All right, Kingy, you have come to Saturday night. Best team versus best coach.
Well, Chris Scott's recognised the best coach by his peers, and we all do that outside looking in. And what he's been able to do this year has been unbelievable. So I'm looking at the coach saying, what's he going to do this time? Because at the start of the final series, I was saying, well done, great effort. If you go out in straight sets, we're still going to say unbelievable achievement against the best team. And people say, oh, how do you say Brisbane are the best team? Well, they've drafted themselves 9 of their selected 23 last week inside the top 20 of the draft. Ashcroft, Fletcher, Wilmot, Lohman, Rayner, Bailey, Starcevich, McCluggage and Berry. They all played. 9. Almost half their team. How many do you reckon the Cats had?
1.
Holmes at pick 20. So sure, they've gone and got other players, but they've had to give up to get something. And if you go to free agents, they've both had a bit of love with the free agent side of things. So they are the best team in it. Make no mistake. So pound for pound, they should be able to get the job done if all other things are equal. But they're not equal against Chris Scott. This is what I keep coming back to. They're not equal. So the 2 biggest challenges this weekend for Chris Fagan and his crew are what do you do with Tom Stewart and what do you do with Jeremy Cameron? Because in preliminary finals, it's all about your point of difference. And these guys are their point of difference. Everyone's got a great stoppage player. And that's Dangerfield, that's Neil, that's whoever. Everyone's got a good ball user and a contested marker inside the forward 50. Not many have got what Jeremy Cameron brings. And if you let him get goal side like this is earlier in the year in a wet night, you pay a price. So the method is so critical to everything that goes on. How do you stop these guys? How do you work on holding space, or you're going one-on-one, you're getting pulled apart, what are you doing? So in the end, they get their looks because of who they are. They're elite talent, but they play it a little bit differently. How's Chris Scott going to set up Stewart? Is he going to be a centre bounce player that drops back? Is he just going to start behind the ball? Are they going to run with him? Are they going to put Archie to him and try and do what they did last weekend? So all these things go into the melting pot to get a result game day. But this is preliminary final. You get one look. And that's why you bring up the numbers before, 2 and 2. No second chances. This is it. It's cutthroat now. So then you go to the stoppages. And the stoppage game, historically, between these two has favoured Brisbane. They've got the 2-time Brownlow medalist in there, and they've been a very good team at winning clearances. And look at the scoreboard differential there. You can see +2 goals, +2 goals, +2 goals, and they won by a point at the start of the year. But Geelong are a different beast now. They are a different stoppage model than what they were 10, 12, 15 weeks ago. Dangerfield back in, rip, tear and bust. And these half-forwards that we keep talking about rolling up to the stoppage. So look at the damage they're able to inflict now. The last 6, 7 weeks of footy. Number 1 in the comp, if they win it, get it on the scoreboard. And it's a heavy toll. It's not a small margin, it's a heavy toll. And they're thereabouts with defending it, but they're miles in front of Brisbane in both facets. So if it's a stoppage game, strap yourself in.
There will be a part. The issue, back to the first one, what do they do with Jeremy Cameron?
Well, that's we don't know. It's about performance. So we've got to wait and see. This is the beauty of finals.
He's got to get an opponent on him, doesn't he?
Well, I don't know. Does he? Does he let him run up the field and pick him up on the way back? But I want to touch on just show you the stoppage game before we get into that discussion, because they do it different. The Cats, they bring their half forwards up and they put defenders into spots they don't want to be. Starcevich, good player, really good. If that's inside the defensive 50, he's staying to him. But because in the midfield you can gamble a little bit, you can take a bit of a licence, don't take it against Myers, don't take it against Close, don't get it wrong against Stengel, because they're coming up to get back. And Brisbane will go with them. This is the coaching mode we get to, right? We're talking about how do you pick apart your opponent? Well, they'll come up. So it'll be 3-on-3 behind this, and then whoosh, charge of the light brigade the other way. So what do you do now? Do you leave Cameron or stay with him? These are the decisions that are going to be made game day that we can't tell you today. But they'll be made in the cutthroat moment of a final, and you either get them right or you get them wrong, and you move on, and we go again. Same thing here, all up to get back. Dempsey's been a revelation. You know who's one of their best players the last 6 weeks is Manor. He's doing this like no other player in the competition. Of their top-rated players the last 6 weeks, Cameron, Dangerfield, Manor. Like, who would have said that? Who would have thought you'd get that sort of performance out of those guys? So it does come down to tactics and coaching in these games. It does. And I've heard you talk about it all week with Fags. The reality is there's going to be issues in this game. You've got to be able to put the fire out. They got lucky, not you get lucky, but they got away with one last week. If Hogan kicks one more goal, I guarantee the back page of the paper is how do you let Hogan do this, right? That's footy. That's our opinion outside looking in. He's got a different version of it, Chris, and we understand that. He can have that. But you deliver or you don't, and there are reasons. These 3 facets can't be the reason or we'll be reviewing it again, like we do every other final and every other game. Don't get beaten by Cameron. What are you doing with Stewart? And what's happening at stoppages are the three keys for me.
So if Chris Fagan does really good in those facets and other facets...
They win.
Would you say that is an unbelievable coaching performance by Fag, if it plays out that way?
It's performance. We do this every week. We do it every week. You make out, look, I've got a vendetta against Chris Fagan.
I feel like you have.
But you said things the other night I've never said about Chris Fagan.
What was that?
You said that there's a narrative, effectively, that you're tactically short of the mark. You don't have the tactical nous of others.
No, that's been the narrative. I don't know. How could you deny that?
I've never said that.
No, I said you insinuated by saying
I'm happy for you to say what you want, right? But don't put words in my mouth to the coach.
No, I put in exactly what you said about the coaching performance last week. There was a standing 8 count and they're getting brained. That's what I said.
100% they did.
And then he come out and they won. Right, they come out and won. I was wondering why, when you've said that was a brilliant coaching performance by Chris Fagan to come back.
But you can coach brilliantly and lose, and you can coach poorly and win. But
you can coach brilliantly and win as well.
100% you can. But we're recognising the game at half-time, Robbo, in real time. What's happening with Zorko? His bloke's kicked 2 goals on him in 10 minutes. What's happening with Neil? He's getting tagged out of the game. We're talking about the game in real time. Like, we can't sit back and say, let's wait and see what happens and then give you a review. We've got to do it as it's been played.
No, I know that. And that's why I highlighted what you said at half-time and what a performance by Brisbane after the second half.
Terrific.
When it was such a stark performance by you guys identifying how the game was being played.
I thought Kingsley did a great job with his coaching last week, and I'm happy to sit on an island with that if no one else believes that. Chris wins the game and they move on. So be it.